Hey everybody, we're back. It's been quite a layoff, but that was by design, in a way. We had a lot of stuff to take care of with business, and both of our businesses are really doing well. ADW Builders, which you see on the side of the cars, and you see WH Building and Design, which Walt owns, and we kind of work hand in hand. So you get busy, and this is not a cheap sport. The more you climb, the more it costs, and it can be made affordable, but it's expensive. So, and life happens. Again, there's nobody behind the scenes that works for us. What you see on camera is what you get when you come to the racetrack. If you've ever come near us, you see that's all there is. There's no cutaway or anything, and that's why we do the videos, so that people can see that if you work hard, you can do this at whatever level you can afford to do.
Yeah.
And so Heather's been busy as well, getting her master's degree, so she has tons of homework and stuff. And the girls, the same thing, just took a little bit. We actually just came back off of vacation.
Yeah, we went to, it's now March, so I don't think we've done a video since the last one in Legion.
Yeah.
So in the meantime of that, a lot's happened. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to show, but the first thing we did really was, well, we should go on vacation since we don't do that all year.
Right. So we spent 3 weeks in Florida, down at Speed Week. Got to see some awesome late model racing. A couple good dirt modified races, but we tend to lean toward the late model stuff. We don't get to see it a lot, and those guys are super impressive.
They're cool guys too. Like Dad got to meet Mike Marlar for the second time, and every time I went up and talked to him, he's no different than any of us at the track. He's a really stand-up guy, really cool guy to talk to. Didn't matter where he finished.
No.
He's definitely genuine when it comes to all that stuff. When you see him on TV, he's that exact way. So it's pretty cool to meet somebody like that and see the guys that have made it big really in dirt racing. They're doing it for a living, which I think is a lot of guys' dreams, but a lot of people don't realize just going to like East Bay and Volusia, it's a lot of work. That's your job, and you're away from home for, I think some were home for like 53 days.
Yeah, when I talked to Mikey Marlar, which was cool that he remembered us from a couple of years ago. We got talking, and he remembers us from then, and we see him at East Bay, and I visited with him there, and then up at Volusia, the same thing. After the races, I hung out with him for a little bit, and he had been on the road since January, down at Vado, and that we were coming to, we came home last weekend, and they were a week ago. They were up at Golden Isle, which Walt actually went up to Golden Isle, but it got rained out.
Got clouded out.
Didn't
get rained out. We would have raced.
So I got talking with him, and I said to him, equipment wise, how do you guys keep? And he goes, we're pretty well, tapped out right now. He goes, the worst thing, he was kidding, he goes, is trying to keep your laundry done, because you're living on the road. Those guys are on the road. They've already run, some of them 25, 26 races, and they just got started. So seeing behind the scenes with them and kind of getting to know somebody who's in the thick of it is definitely really, really interesting to see how hard those guys work. Again, we've done a couple of videos and showed you what it's like on the way home when it's quiet and everybody's asleep in the hauler, and those guys get to do that 100 nights.
Or more.
Every night it's kind of I don't know, mentally you go from absolute pandemonium crazy with a full house of fans and the baddest late models on the planet, going as fast, and then when it all shuts down, it goes dead silent, but all that work's got to be done on the cars. And the next day they got to do it again and again and again, and it's not as glorious as you would think, and that's why the YouTube videos, all the people that do the YouTube stuff behind the scenes is just awesome, because it gives everybody a real insight to what goes on and to see how hard that racers work to get to the track. When you get to the track, you're seeing a very minute bit of what's really gone on behind the scenes.
It's almost like a play. You're seeing the production, but you see all the behind the scenes work, that goes to it.
So. The good thing is most of it's unscripted. So there's no script, and so you might see something that you were like, "Wow, I don't think they planned on that one."
No,
and,
no.
So, but anyway, a lot of stuff's going on with the team since the fall, the last part. First, the season. A quick review of the season is for me doing this forever, and Walt's actually been in it for quite a while. Well, he's been in it with me forever because he was born into it.
Yeah,
but. I always feel like during the season, we're never happy with your results unless you're winning, and obviously only one guy gets to win. And the level of competition is extremely good, especially at Devil's Bowl Speedway. It's the cream of the crop out there every night.
Yeah.
So to compete there is tough, and it wears you down, and you can beat yourself up with setups, and the track itself is like a devil. It changes a lot, and that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It really challenges racers and your teams how to get a hold of the place and all of that. So some guys manage to figure it out and hit it pretty good, and then sometimes just when you think you might have figured it out, it'll humble you in a hurry.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the allure to it, I guess. But overall, the season-wise, when you finally, I guess what I'm getting at is when you step back and finally get to slow down is when you look at it, and then you can really say, did I have a good season? Did I have a bad season? Or whatever. Right. And I felt like, me personally, this past year was, I was pretty satisfied, not completely satisfied by any means, because I didn't get a win. I did everything but win.
Yeah, literally.
And at 3 different racetracks we went to, and was able to be inside the top 5, top 3. And, the month of August, I think for me was, we all of a sudden just got hot and rolled off a bunch of top 3 finishes, 2 in one night.
That was probably your best night, really. Because
that was a night.
You had started I think the first one you started 8th and drove to almost the win. You were this far.
Race for the win, and then in the second one,
they started deeper and still drove forward.
Yeah, and still went forward to a top 3 finish that night.
Yeah,
and we had found something in the car, just minute, and then worked on myself, just trying to be better. Even after all these years working hard, trying to be better, and but then, so when you step back at that point, I was like, oh, cool, but I'm pissed because I still didn't win. So you're happy, but then you're mad because you're that close.
Yeah.
You're like, I know it's there, and then we just ran out of races, as far as that goes. But at the end of the day, I would say I was happy with the results, not 100% pleased.
Right.
And then looking at your side, you had a good season.
Yeah.
You got some wins and a championship, and
it was a pretty decent season. There was some nights over at Devil's Bowl that I felt like should have finished better, but just once you win over there, the way the handicap system is, you're handicapped. You're handicapped, literally. I think I won in July. I won the big race in July. It was a 50-lap race, probably the biggest race that I've won ever.
Yeah, in a while, yeah.
So that was really cool. But since then, I didn't start any better than I think 12th.
Yeah.
And with a crate car over there at Devil's Bowl, it's really hard to pass with the track being so slippery. So there's a lot of races that are won off the pole. That's why there was 18 different winners.
Yeah, lots of different winners.
The only guy that repeated, I think there was 2 guys that repeated. One was Josh Masterson, and it was a makeup feature, so he started, I think, on the pole and maybe 3rd. Yeah. And then the other guy was Matt Janzik, who came and cleaned house, and started on the pin for both of them.
Yeah.
That dude's got a lucky horseshoe, in his pocket or something to redraw on the pin for both races. But hats off to those guys. If you can get an opportunity like that, you got to capitalize.
Well, I think that's the thing that happens too at a place like Devil's Bowl and some other tracks is when the racers are so competitive there and they really work hard at what they do, that when the opportunity arises, they capitalize on it.
Yeah.
There are tracks that you roll into, and you know that you've outworked half of them when you came off the trailer.
Yeah,
that's just a fact. It's and
or your program is that farther ahead.
But when you go there, that's not the case. There and probably Albany, and there's probably some other tracks around. But I would say, and then the track surface lends itself to, man, you got to be on all the time, and that's a good thing. As much as while you're in the heat of the moment, you're hating it and you're pissing and moaning. it makes you a better racer. And the racers there, I felt like last year as a whole was really enjoyable to race with.
Yeah.
Because we had, quite a few times where we had one minor spin in a feature for a caution. We had, I know several races where we just run green to checkered.
Yeah.
And that just lends it, says something about all the guys that are racing there, that they know how to race. They give and take, and hey, I ain't got it tonight, I ain't got it, and I'm gonna lay off the guy and live to work on it next week and go faster, and that's fun as well. That's so hats off to everybody that we were racing with, where everybody has a bad night, but and they're race cars, so we make mistakes and get into each other and get some tangles, but for the most part, the last year was a lot of fun that way, where you knew you could go out and you could focus and race and pretty well trust the guys you're racing with, that they're going to give you room, and if you did get in a tangle, it wasn't intentional, and what happens when that happens, it gets infectious. It weeds out the guys that are knuckleheads. It just weeds them out. The better you race, and at the end of the day, if you're the feature division, you should be the one that does that. And I felt like those guys over there did that this past year, proved why that's the feature division, why they they race that. The fans they know at the end of the night that it's going to be a good race, and so, but the season overall was pretty good, and we moved on to our plan was to not crate race. Some people might know that, but at the end of the season, about middle of the season, we'd started talking about it was time to try something different, and so we were going to move to small blocks. And even Mike had mentioned at Devil's Bowl that they've added, and now probably a lot of people know it, they've added some 358 races, the small block 358 races, which are much more powerful than the crate motors. It's obviously a higher division where it's a built motor, and a lot more freedom for you to be a racer. Not quite as cookie cutter as the the crate stuff. I feel like the higher you go, the more it kind of rewards the guys that know how to throw wrenches around and really what they're for, versus just being able to buy everything and everybody's got the same thing, and that's okay too, but for a while. But for us, we just wanted to try and move up. And so that's,
I think the comfort thing, after racing so many years with you with a super late model, which was a built motor like a 358,
right,
and some tour mod stuff, you're probably more comfortable with a bigger motor, just one, because that's what you grew up on in the 80s and 90s. There wasn't a crate motor, and now we're starting to figure out. I mean, looking at crate motor prices, they don't make sense.
They've crept up there quite a ways.
When I blew up that one at the 200, and I went out and had to buy one for the next week, it was $8,500, and I looked at that and went, when I started, the first motor was a crate motor, and I bought it for $3,200, and there's nothing that's changed. They still make the same power. It's still the same not good parts. They're just a regular part, like the one that we blew up. It broke a connecting rod, which is pretty rare if you have a built piece. So there's things like that kind of went, and we looked at it and went, well, does it make sense to keep spending money in a division that it's really getting out of hand price-wise? And that's not the promoter's fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's more GM's fault for creating a monopoly. So I guess we're the ones that are kind of like, no, we're moving up, and we're moving over and up. And I think a lot of guys are actually doing the same that we've heard of, just because with a built motor, it's built. And if you want to work on it, you can work on it yourself. You can do your maintenance yourself. The seal program and stuff with the crate motors, you can change valve springs, spark plugs, and oil. And that's it. And that's okay.
And for those of you who don't, for those of you who don't understand, as far as the crate motor thing, I'll explain a little bit what happens. The motors that we run we call a crate motor, a 602 crate motor. The 602 is not.
It's a serial number.
It's a serial number. It's certainly not a cubic inch number. It's a stock 350 Chevy, originated from a truck, and that's literally what it is. We just bought one to put in my dad's hot rod truck. They make great hot rod motor, and so they have their place. They're good, but GM makes them. There are thousands of them out there, and then we have to take them, and we buy them from an authorized motor shop. They get them from GM, and they come with these barcoded seals and bottle cap thingies on them. So we can't work on the motor. We can put oil in it, we can put gas, we can change spark plugs,
tune your carburetor
and tune your carburetor, and that's it. And that's great for entry level. But as you go, when I started, we built motors in-house in the shop, like literally assembled motors. So I know how to take a motor apart from top to bottom. I know every piece inside out, as many racers do. And so the crate motor thing, and this is just my opinion, it handicaps the guy who really knows how to work on stuff. You know, the guy that has ingenuity, those guys that coming up through really learned how to work from their dad or from their uncle or something, understand how to go around a toolbox. And so it kind of handicaps you that way. On the other hand, if somebody's just getting into racing and you know absolutely nothing, well, it's not a bad gig. You can, you know, and that's the way it was started out. I think that's what it was intended for. But as the price of things has changed,
I mean, the crate motor price is quadrupled now from when it first started. And I get it, inflation, but quadrupling the price. Gas hasn't gone up quadruple from 2010, or maybe triple. You know, math's not great right now, but so it makes it tough. And I get it. Some people will say, well, the Sportsman is an entry level division. Well, the difference is you buy a modified, and nowadays, because there's no rule on the age of the chassis and this and that, guys are spending $50,000 on a roller, which means it's everything but the motor, and probably a couple other things, and then they're putting a crate motor in.
Right.
So you look at that and go, is it really an entry level division? It's an entry level modified division.
Yeah, it started, the whole intention was to help save racing, and it did that to a point. But I think there's some adjustments need to be made. Where and I don't have that exact answer. If I did, I wouldn't be doing this. But I think there's some adjustments need to be made that we see from this side. The entry level thing, you know, has now become, you know, like the ACT series. It was the same thing. They run a crate motor type thing,
603 crate,
603 and or something like that when we were doing that. And it's the same thing. It's kind of, I think it's run its course right now, and I think there is a place for it. But I think in the future, you know, you can come back to this video a year or two from now, you're going to see some adjustments happen for it to survive. I think in some levels of racing, I think one of the things that's tough with the crate engines is they make exactly the same horsepower. You know, if one guy gets a better tune on his than the other, he picks up a few horsepower here or there. If you're allowed to change fuels, you can, you know, there are things like that you can do. You know, but for the most part, you're pretty much in the same box, and sometimes that makes the racing really close. But if you really watch the race, you don't see a lot of passing because you can't. There are lots of times with the crate motor style engine that you can see an opportunity to pass. You can't get there. You know, you'll say, well, why don't he, you know, for example, Devil's Bowl Speedway, you'll be running and, you know, guys, you'll see the whole field migrate to the top because there's grip on the top. And then after a while, it gets so far around, the top gets so high and it gets wore out, which is just natural dirt racing, that with a crate motor, you just can't go up there. If you happen to be there when the Short Track Super Series race is there, those guys will go up over the bank and still pass because they have enough power to come down off of it and catch back up and go by the guy. Where with a crate motor, you can hold it wide open, and there's just not enough giddy up to do it. So, you know, it's a different race. But having said that, there's still certainly a place for it.
Oh,
but we just decided that we wanted to do something else, and so our intention was to run small blocks only, and then along came another opportunity that wasn't planned with
so
your other owner.
Yeah, technically now I don't race for myself anymore. So my car, the 98 car, I was going to build a small block and put that in that car, and I was going to race Stewart's car probably at Legion again, and some other places. And then he called me and said, well, how about we do this? Why don't I buy another car and you can race for me and you build the motor? So technically we're kind of part owners now in another car.
Yeah.
So I'm going to drive solely for Stewart this year. So you'll see me only into 77. So I'll have the white one, and then the camera is actually resting on the other car that we bought. We bought a car from, well, bizarre enough, my uncle, because he won it in a raffle.
Yeah.
But it was Jack Speshock's big block car from Albany, Saratoga. So we've done some work to it and pretty much gone through the whole thing front to back, powder coated. You know, anything that Stewart has is spit, shine, polished, and
Yeah, we had it sandblasted.
one of the best looking pieces there is out there. So that's exciting. You know, that's the first time that I can say I've ever solely driven straight for somebody, and wasn't looking for a ride. I was going to start pursuing it myself. But when he said he would do that and we could work together, it definitely helps the burden of the initial cost of getting started, and the cost overall, because running a small block is more expensive. Just tires, fuel, shocks, springs, getting the startup cost is more, and it takes more to run them. So that's really exciting from my end. And then Dad.
So yeah, what come along from that is Walt went from being the driver to being an owner.
Yeah. So now I walked out of my bedroom into his bedroom and said, hey, how about this? Since you're going to put a small block in your car, which is that one there, why don't we take my crate car and put your crate motor in it? So
now I'm driving for him.
Yeah.
So he's my boss.
Yeah. I could be a tough boss though. I don't know. I've never been a car owner, so we'll see. But so where we're like, well, we have a 2-car trailer. Why? It doesn't make sense if we have the opportunity to bring 2 cars to the track all the time. If it's 2 crate motor cars, 2 small blocks, why not? So technically now both of us have a crate motor car
and a small block car.
So definitely didn't expect for that to happen.
No, it wasn't in the
plan for that at all.
It wasn't in the plan at all.
But super thankful for that opportunity from Stuart
Absolutely.
and Kathy.
Yeah.
You know, those opportunities don't come usually ever. So to have car owners like that, that are just awesome, you know, whatever we need, whatever they want, you know, it all works great. And the best part is they're at the bottom of the hill. So
yeah, you'll see through the season what we've done is, and we'll show you here in a little bit, the small block cars are now housed here in our shop. The crate cars are housed just down the hill, which you've seen in prior videos. They're down at that shop, and we'll get those rearranged. Yeah. The crate car that I'm going to drive, which he owns, is basically done and sitting in storage down there.
Yeah.
The crate car that he won the championship with last year is down there, and the motor is set to go in, and basically that one is just some assembly required, but nothing crazy with these. And then we've been kind of focusing, now that we get back on vacation, from vacation, focusing on the small block cars, because they were the furthest behind, and in the changes we have to make to some of them. This one here being basically built from scratch,
disassembled and reassembled.
Completely disassembled, and we had to check the frame checked and any repairs or anything that needed to be done, and then a lot of new parts and pieces put in it. And then the other one, the car that I campaigned this year as a crate car, this was a new car, so it only at the beginning of last year had 6 races on it. So perfect for a small block. So that one's been 3/4 disassembled. We didn't feel like we needed powder coat or a frame check because I didn't even really get into a tangle with it.
No, man, we put the body from this car onto my car, so my car will have an 88 on it, so it looks like he owns it.
Right, so I'll be in the 88 cars, he'll be in the 77 cars. We'll have a schedule together.
Like a soft schedule.
Like a soft schedule together, now that all the tracks had finally come out with everything. Most likely we'll be at the small block races, tentatively at Albany, Saratoga. We'll be at the small block races at Devil's Bowl Speedway. And then the crate races, we're not sure. We're going to pick and choose, but we'll probably run a multitude of different tracks with the crate cars, some bigger events, some stuff, because we still want to stay sharp. I'm excited that we get to see a lot of different people, a lot of different tracks. We get a lot of comments where people say, hey, come to this track, come to here. And we, the last couple of years, we've had a blast racing over at Devil's Bowl. It's a good deal. It's fun. And so we're going to continue to race there, but it won't be every single week.
Yeah, we don't plan on running, I guess you could say maybe the only full-time thing that we would run is maybe Albany, Saratoga, and that's 6 races. They're once a month for the small blocks.
Yeah.
So technically, I wouldn't call it a full-time thing. But
No.
the nice thing is about running and kind of picking and choosing the races that we are going to run is I believe most of them are either going to be draw races or time trial races. So yeah, so pretty much in all actuality, that's what we've been up to. Now we're going to get back into the thing of shooting probably a video a week.
Yeah.
Probably right now it'll be the tech tip stuff, maybe what's going on. But really we're just reassembling cars, getting stuff back together. When Kayla gets the schedule and stuff done, we'll probably post that on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
And that'll be subject to change. There's some other series stuff that we might look at doing. The races that are during the week are really tough for us, just trying to run a business. So probably we won't see a whole lot of those, maybe once in a great while.
Yeah,
if we get an opening.
once in a while, if we can sneak away, we'll probably try. We always want to race and try to race, but
yeah,
it's real. Like I said, there's no corporate deal behind us, so we don't get paid to do this. It's all on our own, and we're not complaining. We're just saying.
I mean, if there's a corporate guy that wants to pay a salary for us to race, just let me know. I'll work, but it doesn't work that way. So
but we take care of the family stuff first, and then we go racing.
Yeah,
we're just fortunate that the girls are into it as much or more sometimes than we are. Sometimes they even put the pressure on us.
Yeah, especially on an off week. We're like, oh, we're going to relax. Hey, do you guys want to go to the races? Well, yeah, I guess so.
So, but we love them to death. Wouldn't have it any other way. Again, we got the best looking pit crew around.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we look forward to working. They're as excited as we are about the small block stuff, and we're excited to see some new faces, some old faces, and try some new things. So tune in, and we'll have some tech stuff that we're going through, what we're building, and it might be something that you can learn from, or who knows, through comments and things, maybe something that we can learn from. Yeah. And because we're all going to be stepping into a different world.
This is going to be a learning opportunity. Like I told Dad, we might get our butts kicked for a couple weeks in a row, or who knows.
Oh, yeah.
Because now you're going to race with the likes of probably somebody like a Matt Shepard every once in a while, or a dirt series race. All those guys jump back. Matt Williamson has run small blocks all the time, so you don't know where those guys might show up, especially at Albany. Yeah. So we might have some tough roads to hoe, but we'll figure it out, and you'll get to experience it along with us.
Yeah, you'll get to feel our emotions and frustrations and hopefully our joy as well. So thanks for watching. We appreciate it, and welcome back.
Yeah. Make sure to like and subscribe, and comment if you have any questions, and we'll get some videos out. Cranking them out here coming up. We're getting towards race season. People are itching, and some races down south are starting. So we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.